You are no longer the queen. You never were. Those were the final words King Charles uttered before ordering Camilla's expulsion from the palace. The end of a marriage once hailed as a triumph of love over scandal. But what happened next left not only the royal family but the entire United Kingdom holding its breath. In the shadowed halls of Windsor, Camilla did not walk away quietly. She left armed with a deadly recording, a classified letter from the late Queen Elizabeth II, and a plan so precise it could shake the monarchy to its core. A war was unfolding between a king torn between duty and desire, and a woman once branded the royal homewrecker now rising to reclaim her name. And the most shocking twist, William, the son of Diana, stands at the crossroads of dynasty and disaster, forced to choose between his father, his mother's ghost, and the future of the crown. The ring was demanded back, the recording edited, and a letter that could rewrite the line of succession. Buried secrets are clawing their way to the surface like ghosts demanding justice. Is this the fall of a royal love story, or the birth of a royal revolution no one saw coming? The hallowed halls of Windsor Castle, steeped in centuries of tradition, are suffocating under a silence so heavy it feels like the ancient stones themselves are trembling under an invisible weight. This isn't the calm of peace, it's the prelude to a ferocious storm poised to sweep away everything in its path. At the heart of this tempest stands Camilla, Queen Consort, a woman who's fought decades of scandal to claim her place. On her left hand gleams a dazzling diamond ring, its central stone sparkling like a captive star, cut so perfectly it seems to drink in the flickering candlelight of the room. This is no mere piece of jewelry. It's the engagement ring Charles gave her, a symbol of a marriage forged in the crucible of scandal, doubt, and public scorn. Its weight isn't just in carats, but in a painful history, a relic of trust now teetering on the edge of betrayal. That evening, a private dinner is arranged in a secluded chamber where portraits of long-dead kings and queens hang on the walls, their stern gazes bearing witness to the battle about to unfold. No servants hover with silver trays, no cameras flash to capture the moment. Just Charles and Camilla separated by a polished mahogany table, its surface reflecting the candlelight like a mirror of truths that can't be hidden. Between them lies an abyss of unspoken grievances, old wounds that have never truly healed. Charles, his face etched with the harsh lines of a man who spent a lifetime guarding the crown, places a single photograph on the table. It's a printed screenshot from a foreign tabloid, its headline screaming in bold black ink. Camilla's Forgotten Queen podcast, shocks Palace, a brazen power grab. The article details Camilla's audacious new venture, a podcast she's quietly launched, casting herself as the unsung architect of the monarchy's restored public trust. In its aired episodes, she speaks candidly about her struggles, the years of being vilified, and her ambition to be more than a ceremonial shadow beside Charles. She shares her vision, a modern, approachable monarchy where she's not just a wife, but a voice with weight. To Charles, this isn't just defiance, it's outright treason against the institution he's sworn to uphold, a dagger plunged into the heart of the monarchy. Do you have any idea what you've done? Camilla, his voice is deliberate, each word a shard of ice slicing through the stifling air. His hands rest on the table knuckles, whitening as he grips the edge, as if trying to leash a rage that's been simmering for far too long. Camilla lifts her chin, her gaze unflinching. I just wanted to be heard. To exist, she replies, her tone steady, but laced with a quiet fire, a resolve forged through years of being branded the woman who ruined Diana's happiness. In that moment, she's not just the queen consort, she's a woman determined to reclaim her voice, no matter the cost. Charles shakes his head, his lips pressing into a grim line. No one in this family exists alone. We are pieces of a greater whole, a monarchy that's endured for centuries. And you've just declared yourself apart from it. His words aren't just a reprimand, they're an accusation. Charles, who once shielded Camilla from the venomous attacks of the press, who stood by her when the world turned its back, is no longer her husband in this moment. He is the king, the embodiment of an unbreakable lineage, the gatekeeper of an unforgiving tradition. Camilla's unilateral decision to carve her own path without his consent is a direct challenge to his authority, a dangerous crack in the foundation of the monarchy he spent his life fortifying. I am the Queen Charles, not a servant. Camilla says, her voice rising sharp as a blade drawn from its sheath, No, he counters, eyes narrowing, his stare cold as steel. You are queen because I allowed it to happen. The air crackles with tension, like a taut string on the verge of snapping. Camilla's hand trembles, and the red wine glass in her grip slips crashing onto the marble floor, shattering into 100 glittering fragments. The sound echoes through the room, a prophecy of what's about to break. Charles rises, fists clenched so tightly his knuckles creak, his voice dropping to a growl as the storm draws near. You've broken the rules. You've removed yourself from this place. Camilla sits motionless, her eyes locked on Charles. For a moment, time seems to freeze. She feels the weight of the years they've endured together, the long nights weathering public scorn, the quiet moments when Charles held her hand and promised they'd overcome it all. But now the man before her is no longer the Charles of those days. He is King Charles III, and the crown has devoured the heart of the husband she once knew. Camilla stands, says nothing more, and walks out of the room, leaving Charles with a heavy silence and an unspoken question. Can the monarchy withstand the storm Camilla is about to unleash? 3 days after the explosive confrontation in the dining room, Windsor Castle remains cloaked in a tension so thick it feels like the very stones and portraits are bracing for an eruption. Charles, haunted by sleepless nights, summons Camilla to his private study, a wood-paneled sanctum where towering bookshelves hold the secrets of dynasties and candles cast a flickering ghostly light. This isn't an invitation for reconciliation, it's an ultimatum. Charles has made his decision, Camilla's actions are unforgivable, and he will wield his authority to protect the monarchy, even if it means sacrificing the woman he once loved. Camilla enters, her poise unshaken, despite the shadows of sleepless nights under her eyes. She wears a deep blue silk dress, the diamond ring still gleaming on her finger, a stark reminder of the vow Charles once made. But today, this room is no longer a place for whispered affections or shared dreams. It's a courtroom, and Charles, seated behind a massive desk, is the supreme judge. Camilla? He begins, his voice low and cold, each word chosen with the precision of a bullet. I've thought long and hard about your actions. Your podcast isn't just a mistake, it's a betrayal. You've put your own interests above the monarchy, and that cannot be tolerated. He pauses, his gaze locked on her, searching for a flicker of remorse. But Camilla doesn't bow her head. She stands tall, meeting his eyes with a defiance that catches him off guard. Charles, she replies, her voice steady, but pulsing with a quiet strength, I've spent my life serving this monarchy, serving you. But I'm not a puppet. I have a right to speak, to share my story. If that threatens you, perhaps the problem lies with you, not me. Her words ignite the room, illuminating its dark corners and exposing truth both would rather avoid. Charles's fist clenched, knuckles whitening. Enough, he roars, rising to his feet, his towering presence dominating the space. I gave you everything, a title, a position, a life the world once deemed you unworthy of. And this is how you repay me. The conversation spirals, each word a dagger slicing deeper into old wounds. Charles, in a rare moment of fury, steps closer to Camilla, his voice dropping to a whisper, each syllable heavy with the weight of a curse. Return the ring, he says, his eyes fixed on the diamond on her hand. Not for me, but for the honor of this family. The ring is no ordinary heirloom. It once belonged to Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, a figure Charles reveres as the last true bastion of royal legitimacy. When he placed it on Camilla's finger, it was a vow that she would be his partner in safeguarding the monarchy's legacy. Now, in his eyes, the ring is tainted by Camilla's defiance, her audacity to demand a role he never sanctioned. Camilla doesn't weep, but her hands tremble as she slowly removes the ring. Each movement is deliberate, almost ceremonial, as if she's severing the threads of their shared history, the secret love letters of their early years, the long nights whispering of a future. The world opposed the triumphant moments when they stood together in the public's glare. The diamond catches the candlelight, casting fractured beams across the room like shards of their shattered dreams. When she places the ring on the oak table, the soft clink rings out sharp and final, like the fall of a guillotine. It's not just metal on wood, it's the end of an era. Charles stands frozen, his gaze locked on the ring, but for a fleeting moment, a spark of pain flashes in his eyes. The husband, the lover wrestling with the king. It's quickly extinguished, replaced by the steely resolve of a monarch who cannot yield. "Leave the palace, Camilla." He says, his voice no longer angry, but heavy with a profound weariness. "I don't want to see you here another day." Outside the study, Prince William, summoned to Windsor to discuss the crisis, pauses in the shadowed hallway. Through the half-open door, he glimpses the heart-wrenching scene, his father rigid with righteous anger, shoulders trembling under the weight of his decision. Camilla, stripped of her title and all but name, standing with the last vestiges of a woman who refuses to be broken. William freezes his heart, a battlefield of loyalty and loss. He recalls his childhood, when his parents and Camilla's scandals were venomous whispers in school corridors, when he learned to love a father judged by the world. He remembers Diana, his mother, in the unfillable void her death left behind. And now he watches his family torn apart once more. William says nothing does nothing, but his eyes betray a storm of emotions, grief for a family he cannot save, and a quiet, almost guilty relief that his father chose the crown over the woman he once sacrificed everything to love. He turns, stepping into the darkness of the hallway, each footfall heavier, carrying the burden of an uncertain future. Inside the study, Camilla stands tall, the silk of her dress rustling in the stillness. She doesn't look back at Charles, doesn't speak another word. But as she walks out, head held high, a silent resolve burns within her. If the palace wants to cast her out, she won't go quietly. This isn't the end, it's the beginning of a new battle, one where she'll force the world to hear her story. Camilla leaves Windsor Castle that very night as icy winds whip through the dark fields surrounding the palace. No pomp, no entourage with banners and trumpets. Just a woman, once queen consort, stepping through the heavy iron gates, her silhouette fading into the thick fog. Her head is high, her shoulders squared, as if defying both the darkness and the unseen eyes watching from the palace windows. But Camilla is no victim, no portrait of a broken woman. A fire smolders in her heart, and before she departs, she makes one final move, a calculated act of defiance, sharp as a blade, potent enough to shake the monarchy to its core. In the dead of night, as the great clock in Windsor's tower tolls 3 somber chimes, Camilla slips into Charles's private study. This room is a sacred fortress, accessible only to the king and his closest advisors. Ancient oak bookshelves brim with classified files, handwritten letters from past monarchs, and secrets the House of Windsor has buried for centuries. The firelight dances on the walls, illuminating Camilla's face, where her eyes burn with unyielding resolve. By means she'll never reveal, perhaps a key she kept from more intimate days, or a code she overheard, Camilla opens a hidden safe tucked behind a portrait of Queen Victoria. Inside, among meticulously sealed documents, lies a crimson envelope sealed with the wax crest of Queen Elizabeth II. Only 2 living souls know its contents, Charles and Camilla. Her hand trembles slightly as she touches the wax, not from fear, but from the weight of the weapon she's about to wield. Within the envelope is a small USB containing a recording from 2020, made during a clandestine meeting at Buckingham Palace. It captures a moment when Charles, exhausted by relentless public and media scrutiny, bared his soul in a rare lapse of restraint. His voice, weary and laced with frustration, plays through the device. "Camilla is a liability to our image. I'm not certain the public will ever fully forgive her past." Those words, sharp as a knife, had once stunned Camilla when she overheard them lingering in an advisor's office by chance. But instead of letting the pain consume her, she preserved them as leverage, a trump card, for the day the palace turned against her. Now standing in the shadowed study, Camilla clutches the USB, feeling its power course through her like an electric current. But she doesn't stop there. From a locked drawer, she retrieves a slim stack of documents, typed pages, detailing secret meetings between her and major donors to the Royal Prosperity Fund. These papers chronicle Camilla's pivotal role in persuading billionaires and corporate leaders to donate millions to the monarchy's charitable projects work. Charles never publicly acknowledged, though it bolstered the crown's image in the public eye. The words on those pages are proof of her intelligence, perseverance, and quiet influence, qualities the palace deliberately ignored. Security cameras concealed in the hallway's dark corners capture Camilla's departure. A solitary figure in a long black cloak, accompanied only by a loyal maid, Jane, who served her for over 2 decades, and a single guard she trusts implicitly. In her hand is a small leather satchel holding the USB with its damning recording and the documents. As Windsor's gates close behind her, the clang of metal echoes like a final farewell. The palace has cast her out in silence, hoping to smother the scandal before it ignites. But Camilla departs with a weapon that could bring the House of Windsor to its knees, and in her heart a vow, if she cannot be queen beside Charles, she will make the world hear her story. The palace has no choice but to act swiftly. Whispers of Camilla's sudden departure are spreading like water, seeping through a dam about to burst. In Buckingham's sealed rooms, Charles's advisors work tirelessly, fingers flying over keyboards to craft a statement vague enough to calm the press's hunger, yet firm enough to assert the king's supreme authority. But deep down, their true fear isn't the headlines. It's Camilla, a woman who's mastered survival in the liminal space between light and shadow, now poised to unleash a calculated counterattack honed over decades of resilience. At Raymill House, Camilla's private retreat in the Wiltshire countryside, a spacious drawing room has been transformed into a war room for a media battle. Heavy velvet curtains are drawn tight, blocking out prying eyes. On an antique oak table, laptops glow with a bluish light, cold coffee cups sit forgotten, and an air of tension hangs like a storm cloud. Camilla stands at the center in a simple yet elegant gray wool dress, her sharp eyes scanning the allies she's carefully chosen for this fight. Edward Hargrove, a notorious media lawyer, sits at one end of the table, his eyes glinting with restrained excitement at the potential of this story. He's made multinational corporations tremble with his ability to flip public opinion, and now he sees Camilla as a chance to write a new chapter in his storied career. Lillian Carter, a PR strategist who shaped narratives for U.S. presidents, sits opposite, arms crossed, listening to Camilla with laser focus. She knows how to turn scandals into stories of sympathy, and in Camilla, she sees a perfect protagonist. Sophie Nguyen, a veteran NBC News reporter, sits near the window scribbling furiously in a notebook, her eyes sparkling with the hunger for a scoop that could define her career. Camilla places the small USB on the table, its metal surface catching the chandelier's light. With a calm but resolute voice, she presses play on a laptop. The grainy audio of the 2020 recording fills the room, Charles's voice weary, and cutting Camilla is a liability to our image. I'm not certain the public will ever fully forgive her past. The room falls silent as the recording ends, save for the ticking of a wall clock. Edward raises an eyebrow, a faint smile playing on his lips. Lillian leans forward, jotting notes, her pen racing across the page. Sophie, barely containing her excitement, looks up at Camilla, her eyes asking, "What's next?" Camilla stands tall, her gaze locking onto each person in the room. "If I am not restored to my rightful place," she says, her voice steady but heavy, "with the weight of a vow, I will let the public decide who truly deserves to sit on the throne." Her words are no empty threat. In her hands are the recording, the Royal Prosperity Fund documents, and above all, the story of a woman used as a tool by the palace, then discarded when her value waned. Lillian nods, sketching a plan, leak portions of the recording to major outlets like The Guardian and Le Monde, while launching a social media campaign with hashtags like Justice for Camilla to stir public sympathy. Sophie proposes an exclusive NBC interview where Camilla can share her story with millions worldwide. Edward, with a cold smile, assures her the palace won't be able to use lawsuits to silence the truth. He's already prepared legal countermeasures. Meanwhile, miles away at Kensington Palace, a clandestine meeting unfolds in a dimly lit room illuminated only by the soft glow of an old desk lamp. Angela Kelly, the late Queen Elizabeth II's trusted confidant, sits across from Prince William. Her silver hair is neatly pinned, but her eyes remain sharp, as if still guarding the monarchy's deepest secrets. In her hand is a small USB placed carefully on the wooden table like a sacred relic. Camilla's copy is edited. Angela whispers, her voice low and urgent, as if passing down a legacy. This is the original. William, his shoulders heavy with responsibility and memories of a fractured family, takes the USB, his fingers trembling slightly as he plugs it into a secure laptop. He presses play and his father's voice fills the room. First, the harsh words Camilla holds. "Camilla is a liability to our image. I'm not certain the public will ever fully forgive her past." But then Charles's tone softens, carrying a rare sincerity, as if speaking to his own heart. "But she is the only one who stood by me when the nation turned its back. I owe her everything." William closes his eyes, his jaw tightening, as if trying to stem the flood of emotions. Truth in his family is never simple. never black and white. Charles's words reveal a man torn between duty to the crown and love for the woman who sacrificed everything to stand by him. If Camilla releases her edited version, it will paint Charles as a heartless tyrant, shaking public faith in the monarchy. But the full truth, as in this recording, could humanize him, a king with flaws, but also loyalty and gratitude. Yet at what cost? A monarchy divided further, or a chance to heal old wounds? William looks up at Angela, his eyes filled with conflict like a soldier at a crossroads. Why now, he asks, his voice hoarse, tinged with both exhaustion and suspicion. Angela leans forward, her hands clasped tightly. Because you're the only one who can stop this from becoming a disaster, she replies, her voice gentle but firm, like a teacher guiding a student through darkness. The palace can't save itself, but you, William, can. William holds the USB, feeling its weight in his palm, as if it's not just a device, but the fate of an entire dynasty. He's no longer just a son or a prince. He is the fulcrum on which the monarchy's future balances, a man caught between loyalty to his father, memories of his mother, and duty to a crown teetering on the edge. In the room's shadows, William knows his next decision will shape not only Camilla's fate, but the legacy of his entire family. The Charity Gala at Westminster Abbey, with its soaring arches and shimmering candlelight, is billed as a beacon of unity after the monarchy's earth-shaking crisis. For the first time since the scandal erupted, King Charles and Queen Consort Camilla appear together in public. They stand side by side on the red carpet, but the distance between them isn't just physical, it's an unbridgeable chasm. No clasped hands, no shared glances. Their expressions are meticulously controlled, like marble statues carved from ice. The cameras, like ravenous vultures, devour every moment, waiting for a crack in the royal facade. A frown, a glance, even a sigh, any sign of fracture could ignite a new media firestorm. But behind the scenes, in a small, heavily guarded room, veiled by crimson velvet curtains, a true reckoning is unfolding. The room, with its oak-paneled walls and a long table draped in silk, hosts three figures bearing the weight of the monarchy: Charles, Camilla, and William. The air is thick, suffocating, as if the history of the House of Windsor is pressing down on every breath. No greetings, no pleasantries. This isn't a negotiation, it's a covert trial with the monarchy itself in the dock. Camilla, in a deep blue silk gown that accentuates her regal defiance, steps to the table with the calm of a warrior ready for her final battle. She places a thick dossier on the table, the sound of paper meeting wood sharp in the silent room. Her eyes lock onto Charles, unwavering, as if piercing through the husband, the king, to reach the man she once loved. For 2 decades, she begins, her voice even, but each word honed to a razor's edge. I've done exactly as you demanded, stayed silent, played the part, upheld the image. I bowed to public opinion, endured their insults, and did everything to protect this monarchy. But when you no longer needed me, you discarded me like a broken tool. Now it's my turn to speak. She slides a small USB across the table, its metal surface glinting under the light. This holds your 2020 remarks. She continues, her tone unchanged but laced with calculated coldness. Where you called me a liability and questioned if I could ever measure up to Diana. Charles's face is stone, but his knuckles gripping the arm of his chair turn white, betraying the fury simmering within. Camilla doesn't pause. Her voice cuts like a blade through his defenses. I also have the original draft of your coronation speech, where you describe me as queen by arrangement, not by right. And if I release it? She trails off, letting the threat hang like a guillotine blade. Then, with a dramatic flick of her wrist, she produces another document, a neatly printed stack of emails. And this, she says, her voice now tinged with bitterness, is correspondence between you and your communications advisor in 2021, agreeing to position Kate as the people's choice to overshadow me. Did you think I'd never find out? Charles's eyes narrow, a dangerous glint flashing, but he remains silent, a king refusing to stoop to accusations. William, seated across the table, feels his breath catch. He looks from his father to Camilla, his heart torn between loyalty and truth. Enough, Camilla! Charles finally roars, his voice echoing like thunder in the room. But Camilla doesn't flinch. Not yet. It's not enough, she retorts, her tone now carrying a near ruthless resolve. She reaches into her purse and pulls out a faded letter, its paper yellowed ink, smudged but legible. She holds it up like a banner of victory. This is a private memorandum from Elizabeth II. She says, her voice slow, letting each word sink in. It states that if your marriage destabilizes the crown, the monarchy will need a stronger figurehead, Catherine Middleton. William's breath stops as if the air has been sucked from the room. Charles's face flushes, veins bulging on his neck from suppressed rage. This letter isn't just an attack on Camilla, it's a lethal blow to Charles's legitimacy, suggesting his personal failures could justify bypassing him for a new era under William and Kate. The room falls silent, the weight of history and unspoken words crushing all. No one moves, no one speaks, as if time itself has halted. Then Charles explodes. He slams his fist on the table, the sound like a gunshot, making the water glass tremble. "You are no longer queen. You never were," he bellows, his voice quaking with anger and a deeper pain he'll never admit. He turns to the two guards standing motionless at the door, his gaze icy. Internal exile. Effective immediately. Camilla will not set foot in Windsor, Buckingham, or any royal residence again. Camilla stands still, her composure unshaken, like a rock in a raging flood. Then with a faint, almost scornful smile, she smooths her dress, the motion slow, almost ritualistic. "Fine," she says softly, her voice ringing like a prophecy. "You've just flung open the door to public judgment, and I'll walk through it with every spotlight on me." She turns striding out of the room with the dignity of a deposed queen who refuses to be broken, leaving behind a trembling throne and two men unable to meet each other's eyes. Charles, still at the table, breathes heavily, each inhale a struggle. He turns to William, but his gaze doesn't meet his son's. From now on, he whispers, his voice hollow, like a man who's lost a piece of his soul. Her name is not to be spoken within these walls. Hours after the showdown at Westminster, the world erupts like a powder keg ignited. Carefully edited snippets of Camilla's 2020 recording spread like wildfire across global media. Major networks, BBC, CNN, Sky News, loop the audio relentlessly. Charles's cold voice branding Camilla a liability and questioning her worth compared to Diana. Social media platforms explode with hashtags that spread like a virus. Shakuyur, justice for Camilla, Dush, and the monarchy. Chash, Camilla betrayed. On Twitter, posts rallying behind Camilla garner millions of interactions, while attacks on Charles dominate trends. Outside Buckingham Palace, protesters gather hoisting signs, demanding transparency, and even calling for Charles's abdication. Their chants echo through the royal square, mingling with Big Ben's chimes, a chaotic soundtrack to the monarchy's unraveling. The international press is merciless. The Guardian runs an editorial titled "King Charles Tyrant" or "Tragic Figure," while Le Monde dubs the scandal the collapse of the royal illusion. In America, daytime talk shows transform Camilla into a symbol of defiance, likening her to historic feminist icons. Within 24 hours, Camilla, once a banished queen, becomes a global phenomenon, a woman who dared to stand against a system that tried to erase her. But her triumph is fleeting, a flash of light before the real storm hits. At Kensington Palace, Prince William sits alone in his office, the laptop's glow highlighting the early wrinkles etched by responsibility. He's wrestled with his conscience for days, torn between loyalty to his father and duty to the crown. Finally, he makes a bold choice, one that could either save the monarchy or plunge it into ruin. He contacts a trusted media advisor and orders the release of the full 2020 recording, the unedited version Angela Kelly gave him, revealing Charles's gratitude and dependence on Camilla. The complete recording airs on a primetime BBC special. Charles's voice, weary but sincere, resonates, but she is the only one who stood by me when the nation turned its back. I owe her everything. Public reaction shifts almost instantly. Some see a flawed but human king torn between crown and love. Others see a weak monarch unfit to lead in a modern age. New hashtags emerge. Charles, the Menonitiana, monarchy in crisis, and the public debate grows more polarized than ever. The monarchy, once a symbol of stability, teeters on the brink of irrelevance, torn by conflicting opinions and rising distrust. At Ray Mill House, Camilla sits in her drawing room, the TV's flickering light dancing across her face, her expression unreadable. She watches the news, listening to pundits dissect Charles's words, her actions. She's wounded the crown as she vowed, but at what cost? In the room's stillness, Camilla feels an emptiness, not regret, but a realization that her victory is also her loss. She's forced the world to listen, but the price is solitude, a permanent estrangement from the man she loved and the monarchy she sacrificed everything to uphold. Months later, King Charles stands alone on Buckingham Palace's balcony, the pale autumn sun glinting off his tailored ceremonial uniform. The crowd below waves flags, but their cheers feel distant, echoing from another era. Charles waves back his movements, mechanical, his eyes vacant. The monarchy endures, but its luster has faded like a gem worn down by time. His advisors work tirelessly to restore his image, orchestrating charity visits, unity speeches, and stage photos with his grandchildren, his smile rehearsed to mask the pain. But the public, though still loyal to the idea of royalty, views the monarchy with new skepticism, a fragile institution, no longer an unassailable symbol of stability. William, now a reluctant mediator, becomes the linchpin in rebuilding trust. He works tirelessly navigating advisor meetings, public events, and discreet talks with political leaders. Every decision, from choosing charities to sponsor to answering press questions, is a calculated move in the monarchy's survival game. The burden marks his face, dark circles under his eyes, premature wrinkles, a new quietness. Princess Kate emerges as a stabilizing force as Elizabeth II foresaw. Her warm smile and natural grace make her a bridge between tradition and modernity, adored for her visits to schools and hospitals. But in private moments, Kate holds William's hand, silently sharing the weight of the storm. Camilla, retreated to a quiet life at Ray Mill House, publishes her memoir, The Forgotten Queen. It's neither vindictive nor apologetic, but a raw, sometimes heartbreaking account of a woman caught between love and duty. The book rockets to the top of global bestseller lists, cementing Camilla's place in history as both a sympathetic and controversial figure. She spends her days tending her rose garden, but the tranquility can't hide the void within a bittersweet legacy of triumph and loss. At Windsor, Charles grows increasingly solitary, rarely appearing publicly except when required. One evening under a full moon, he sits in his study, facing a small velvet box holding the diamond ring Camilla once wore. His fingers trace the gem's edges, his thoughts drifting to the woman he loved, betrayed and banished. He recalls afternoons at Highgrove tending gardens together, late nights whispering of a future the world opposed, the moment he slipped the ring on her finger, promising to face all challenges together. Now those are just memories dissolving like smoke. Charles closes the box, the soft click echoing in the silence, a reminder of what's lost. He steps to the window, gazing at the darkened gardens. The crown has survived, still secure on his head, but at what cost? A shattered family, a ruined love, a monarchy reduced to a shadow of its former glory. In the stillness of Windsor, the echoes of a broken vow linger, a reminder that even kings are human and even queens can rewrite their story, though the price is eternal solitude.